Thanks again. We're just going to hold for a minute. I'm running this show by myself today. I usually have my partner Sam Quinn working with me, so I apologize if I have any administrative challenges, but hopefully everyone can hear me. Feel free to ask any questions via the Q&A function in the webinar here. And if nobody can hear me, please acknowledge. But if you can, we'll go ahead and get started in just about 1 minute. Okay, great. Thank you all for waiting, and thank you all for joining. As I mentioned, my name is Matt Sanders. I'm the program director for the Pacific Ocean Energy Trust. The POET is serving as the network director for the Testing, Expertise, and Access for Marine Energy Research program. Myself, along with Samantha Quinn, who you may be familiar with, essentially run the program at POET. And thank you all for joining. This webinar is being recorded. We'll go ahead and send out the recording for the link for the recording when it becomes available. It'll also be posted on the TEAMER website. But I'm going to go ahead and get started now. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A function above. I believe in this webinar platform, you don't have the ability to ask questions verbally, but you can use that function, and also feel free to send us emails later on if that doesn't work or I don't address your questions directly. So to get started, anyone who hasn't listened to this webinar, there's a lot of useful information. If you've participated in this applicant webinar before, there's a few new points that we'll be pointing out throughout as well. So it's worth your time to listen. But to those of you who are new, just to talk a little bit about the program, the U.S. Testing, Expertise, and Access for Marine Energy Research, TEAMER, otherwise known as, is meant to allow access to testing infrastructure by providing access to a wide range of pre-certified facilities at minimal to no cost to developers and researchers, and allow for faster and more streamlined integration of physical testing and validation of the design process. The goal is to provide access to world-class expertise by pairing technology companies with nation's leading marine energy experts to provide assistance in the design and execution of tests and understanding the results, as well as to work on implementing consistent testing protocols for use in the facility network and to create a repository of marine energy performance data that will serve the industry as a whole. TEAMER is currently a three-year program to provide access to the marine energy testing facilities and technical expertise to assist with modeling and data collection. We're currently funded at approximately $13 million program. Our goal is to support over 100 projects throughout the length of the three-year period. The goal is to have greater than 20 facilities available for assistance, provide thousands of hours of technical assistance, and offering a range of assistance for early stage technologies, including numerical modeling, bench testing, tank testing, and soon enough field testing. As well as offering assistance for devices, components, cross-cutting areas such as power takeoff systems, grid integration, environmental effects, resource characterization, materials, and moorings, as well as others. Our goal is to provide access to wave, tidal, ocean current, river current, and OTEC resource, as well as technologies that supply power to the grid, as well as powering the blue economy market applications. Lastly, our goal is to provide as much data as possible to the sector. At the end of the TEAMER assistance, we will work with you to archive data, as well as provide post-access reports that can offer information to the industry. Just a bit about who runs TEAMER and the organization, the structure of the organization. Like I mentioned, we are the network director. We sit in the middle of this matrix here. We work very closely with the TEAMER technical board. Technical board consists of representatives from the Water Power Technologies Office at the Department of Energy. Their role is to provide overall program leads, strategic vision, providing oversight into the program. We also work with the National Marine Renewable Energy Centers, such as the Pacific Marine Energy Center, which includes Oregon State, University of Alaska Fairbanks, as well as University of Washington. We work with the Hawaii National Marine Renewable Energy Center, HMNMRIC, which is representatives from the University of Hawaii, and then as well as the Southeast National Marine Renewable Energy Center, folks from Florida Atlantic University there. And then the technical board wraps up with representatives from the national labs, including NREL, Sandia, and Pacific Northwest National Labs, more specifically the Marine Coastal Research Laboratory. Like I said, we're the network director. We sit in the middle of this matrix. Our goals are essentially to run the program, to coordinate the technical board, to manage the application and review process, as well as to ensure the testing, the developers and researchers have access to the facilities and complete all the required reporting and archiving and posting and all the parts of the program that need the day-to-day work is what the network director does. And then additionally, we have additional network partners who, here we're listing as the actual facilities. Who you see there in the bottom are just examples. The actual TEAMER facility network is far more broad than that. We'll talk about that in a few slides. And lastly, the participants, and that's the folks on this presentation today, marine energy developers and researchers who are seeking technical support for technology development. As we get started, it's good to remind everyone of the dates for this upcoming request for technical support. As you all likely know, the applications are now open. That opened last Friday, April 9th, and we will leave that application period open for 1 month, closing on May 9th. Our goal is to notify applicants of our decision no later than July 5th. And at that point, once you've been notified to proceed, you will go ahead and work with your facilities to create a more formal test plan, which is then submitted to the network director for review to ensure that the test plan aligns with the application, still meets the goals and opportunities of TEAMER. And then once that's approved, then the technical support period, or the access period as we call it, for RFTS 3 will run roughly from September of 2021 through June of 2022. These here are just a highlight of some of the program rules. I encourage everybody to review all of the program rules prior to applying, just to make sure everything aligns with your priorities. But here are just a few of the points that we see come up worth mentioning. TEAMER funding is not available for the manufacturing or fabrication of marine energy devices. TEAMER funding is for facility use. TEAMER funding for facility use is provided directly to the TEAMER facility, not to those seeking assistance, or as we will call you, technical support recipients. To define that a little bit more, we provide funding to the facilities to meet your technical objectives. Since we are not providing any funding for manufacturing or design, all that money has to go to the facilities for their work to provide access to you. For purposes of TEAMER, the term marine energy means energy from waves, tides, and currents in the oceans, estuaries, and tidal areas, free-flowing water in rivers, lakes, and streams, free-flowing water in man-made channels, differentials in ocean temperature, or OTEC. And lastly, the term marine energy does not include energy from any source that uses a dam, diversionary structure, or impoundment for electric power purposes. So that is something we will review and have the ability to decline applications, assuming they don't fit within those guidelines. TEAMER support is not available for offshore wind technologies. However, TEAMER support may be available for the testing of components, such as moorings or anchors, that could be used as cross-cutting components for marine energy and offshore wind energy. So things like moorings and anchors, as it says there. If you have an offshore wind device and there's applicability to, wave energy, current energies, then it could be considered for TEAMER support. These are a couple new bullets that we've added here. Not that we've run into problems with this, but just to set some limits in the program. Applicants may apply for support at up to 2 facilities per application. What we've seen several times so far is an applicant applying for numerical modeling support to then be followed by tank testing to validate the modeling. This is allowable. It requires an additional coordination, obviously, from the applicant and the facilities, additional effort on the network director's part, and it also may push up against some of the budgetary boundaries that I'll define here later. But we are allowing applicants to apply for support up to 2 facilities so long as it continues to meet all the other rules that we will look at in reviewing. And lastly, applicants may not submit more than 2 applications per RFTS and may have no more than 4 active projects at one time. So that's nobody yet, but as we move down the program, as time goes on, we want to make sure that you're not just banking and banking and banking projects, that you're actually wrapping things up before applying for additional support. A little bit about eligibility to apply. TEAMER funding is available to support marine energy developers, researchers, regardless of their country of origin, provided that all work performed under the award is done in the United States. Applicants are responsible to ensure that the TEAMER facility does not have non-US citizen access restrictions. We work with some national labs, there's some security issues. It's worth, if you're an international applicant, just discussing that with the facility at the time, prior to applying, so there's no surprises down the road. We don't know of any facilities that have full restrictions, but at times there may be additional administrative paperwork, background checks that may be required prior to accessing a facility if you are an international applicant. Technologies with powering the blue economy applications, including power at sea and resilient coastal communities, may apply for TEAMER support, provided they're to be powered by marine energy. If you're not familiar with the DOE's Powering the Blue Economy report, we have links to it on our website. It's worth a look at. But applications such as offshore aquaculture and ocean observation technologies may apply for support. There's often gray area. We recommend that you reach out to us to ask questions if you have any about what's allowed and what's not allowed before applying, to save you the time and us the time. In order to be considered for participation in the program, applicants must first consult with the pre-approved test facility to determine whether their test is within the capabilities of that facility, and second, to submit an application, which becomes available during the period. I'll probably say this point a few times, but this pre-consultation period is a requirement. We do check to make sure that you've consulted and discussed your projects with facilities. The goal here being obviously that the facilities know that you're applying for support there, that they have the availability, the timing, the bandwidth to complete your test, but also that you're not asking them to do something that they're not able to do or don't have experience doing. The goal here being to provide good testing that we are confident with. Facilities have been approved to do certain types of testing based on how they've described their expertise to us. So we don't want them necessarily taking on things that don't have experience, because the facility network we feel is very strong based upon the qualities that they've presented to us. A little bit about the different categories of support, as well as budgets and timelines to consider when applying. Applicants must apply for assistance in the following categories: either numerical modeling and analysis, laboratory or bench testing of devices or components, tank, flume, tunnel, or basin testing, and we plan to soon offer open water testing at limited sites, hoping to expand that as we continue through the program. We'll talk a little bit about budgets. It's important to know that we don't ask for budgets, a budget in the application for the request for support. We ask the facilities for the budget because we will be providing the funding to the facility. But it's worth noting that we are putting a cap at $150,000 for all categories except open water now. Those have changed a little bit. We realized that a lot of these categories just generally require higher budgets. So we've been able to expand our maximum levels for funding there. And like I said, it's not a requirement of the applicant to provide that budget. However, the facilities know this as well, and they'll know when you come to them with a very large request that it's going to cost more than $150,000, and it should be discussed between the facility and the applicant ways to reduce that budget to under those. You'll have a far better chance of getting supported if your budgets are within those ranges. These are just guidelines. There's no strict requirements, and we may support some projects that have higher budgets. However, projects exceeding these budgets will need to demonstrate significant value to the marine energy sector. And that's something that is discussed among the TEAMER technical board as we're making recommendations for awards. One option, like I mentioned earlier, the ability to apply for support or for support at 2 different facilities. If those 2 facilities, if you're applying for numerical modeling and then tank testing, that request will still be capped at $150,000. So one of the great things about TEAMER is we're going to continue to offer support for at least the next 1.5 years, hopefully longer. And it's probably in your best interest to focus on one of those aspects of testing and then to apply for support again. Because a lot of things, there's a lot can go into the design process. You do some modeling, you realize you want to change things up. It's a lot easier for us to approve awards when we know the second phase is not relying on the first phase. So if you know, either budgetary constraints are one way to limit that to one category of testing, but also just the likelihood of success goes up the more we limit the categories that folks apply to at one time. And there's no penalties for applying for the next RFTS. It's really what we encourage and hope for from applicants. Not to say you can't apply for those 2 things at once, but generally we see more success when you focus on one aspect first. And then this last point here, this is new for RFTS 3 and will continue. Our access periods are now actually up to 9 months. We were holding at 6 months for the first 2 rounds. We realized that was limiting some opportunities at some facilities, just didn't have the time to complete some larger projects that were being requested. So we feel that hopefully 9 months will give us more opportunities for supporting testing. But we do require that the testing begin within 3 months of final test plan approval. And the goal there being is TEAMER is designed to meet current technical objectives and access to testing as needed, as opposed to waiting for other funding opportunities to come in. So we don't want to be awarding companies and technologies and projects, that aren't utilized currently. The goal of the program is efficient access when needed. So apply for what you need. If you don't need it now, there will be more opportunities in the future. Now to talk a little bit about the TEAMER facility network. Applicants are only allowed to apply for facilities currently listed on the TEAMER website. So go to the teamer-us.org, go to the facilities page, see what's available, identify what you're trying to get done, find the facilities that can meet those needs and apply for that. If a facility is not available, it's either listed on the website that it's not currently available for this round, or certain capabilities actually may not be available within a facility. So it's worth, if you've been there before, a couple things may have changed since you last looked. There's a whole bunch of new facilities listed on the website as well for RFTS 3. We recommend that you, re-examine, rethink of how and who will provide that technical support to you. Let's see, applicants should reach out to the actual point of contact listed on the website to discuss their RFTS. We've run into some experience in the past where, a certain university was listed, but the applicants were reaching out to someone else they knew at the university and not actually the point of contact that we have listed on our website. It's really important. That's who we're going to reach out to ensure that discussions and the feasibility of the projects are within the bounds of that facility. So if you're not talking to the person that we are hoping to get information from, you're not going to get a good response in that letter of response. And that's something that we evaluate on. So really important to follow that rule. It's as simple as it seems. Lastly, additional facilities may become available in future RFTSs. We encourage everyone every time we do this and talk to people, if there's capabilities or facilities that are not listed as part of the TEAMER facility network that you feel should be that provide value. We're happy to hear from you and to reach out to those facilities and work with them to bring them into the network eventually. However, currently, we're only allowing support at the facilities that are listed. And lastly, approved open water facilities will be available in future RFTSs. Here's a couple screenshots from the TEAMER website. This is a listing. As you can see, we have a fairly broad facility network. We are missing, there's a few new pinpoints to put on this map, but generally speaking, geographically, we're diverse. And then capability wide, we're very diverse as well. Lots of different tanks and flumes and numerical modeling and all sorts of capabilities represented across the country. We're very encouraged and pleased by our facility network and feel that we've done a good job pulling together a list of facilities that are ready and able to address your technical objectives. As you can see on the bottom right there, that's what a facility page will look like. It provides a description of what that facility can offer. Capabilities include, hopefully these bullets will mean something to you, and you'll be able to understand that what you need can work with that. If you feel like one of those facilities has the ability to meet you and doesn't necessarily have that bullet listed, reach out to that point of contact and see what, and have a discussion and see if they can find a way to support your project. How to apply. First off, go to teamer-us.org/how-to-apply. All the important information is there. Generally speaking, we ask really important to define a technical objective that can be defined through TEAMER support. The more specific you are, the more detailed you are with your requests for support, the more likely you are to be supported. Applications that are rather general in nature don't necessarily define a problem or something to be actually tested, tend to not score as well and are harder to support for us. Find the appropriate facility who can meet that objective. We talked about that already. Consult with that facility to ensure they can meet that objective. I also encourage you to talk to that facility to flesh out more details of what that technical objective is. Maybe they have experience working with PTOs, and if they know more about your project, they can suggest a better approach towards testing that, and that may be different than you had perceived already. So it's not just simply checking a box to say yes, they're available, yes, they can test PTOs, but really take advantage of that opportunity. They're there to work with you even before we formalize the agreement to support you to hopefully define your technical objectives and put together a better application. Some tips and suggestions for successful applications are to clearly align with the goals of TEAMER. Providing value to the industry at large is one of those goals. It's also the last bullet here. Define a clear technical objective. Can't be more clear about that one. It's very important for us. Show coordination with the facility based on the material in the application and the letter of response. I've talked a little bit about this letter of response. That's what we request from the facilities after we've received an application. That's where we do request an initial budget proposal, but as well, we ask them, have you spoken with this applicant? Did they define what they were asking you to do? Can you do that? Can you do that within this time period? Questions like that. So it's really important that we get a good sense of coordination in that letter of response as we evaluate projects. And then lastly, include a clear description of why this is a logical next step in the technology's development. The pathway towards commercialization is often varied and zigged and zagged. We know that there's no right answer, but we have seen success in different technologies and other sectors. So we know generally what is right, but if you're skipping large steps, it's really important for us to know what you've done in the past, why you're requesting support for what you're doing now. It's really helpful to our reviewers as they're reviewing your application to know what you've done and why what you're proposing to do now is a logical next step. Then to demonstrate a reasonable timeline that fits within a 9-month period. Again, this is a request for current testing needs. Anything that falls outside those periods generally should hold off and go for another round of support. And lastly, then provide, successful projects will provide value to the industry at large. This is what the application kind of looks like. We are hosting it on a new platform this time called Submittable. This is a new platform for us. It's going to help us streamline reviewers and the applications and a whole bunch of other parts of the team. We're really excited about it. These are screenshots from our last application. It's all the same questions, same format, same sections. We just have it on a new. So the color schemes might be different than you see here, but generally it should be the same. And as you can see here, we talk about your preferred facilities. What are your technical assistance objectives? Generally questions like that. Quick slide on the review process. First thing we do when we get applications is we ensure your application is compliant. Is this actually a marine energy device? If it's a hydro device that uses a diversionary structure, then that's one of our compliance checks. Did you read the rules and regulations? Did you check these boxes? Things like that. That's what the network director will do. We don't necessarily evaluate on technical merit. The network director does not review on technical merit. We'll then request a letter of response from the facilities, as I've described. And then the applications will be reviewed by an independent panel of external reviewers. So we have a pool of external reviewers throughout the country who review and submit their reviews. And then we work with the TEAMER technical board to make final recommendations based on those reviews. And then notification with the reviewer comments will be sent to both successful and unsuccessful applicants. The goal here being if you're not successful in this application, we want you to be successful next time. So we're really requesting detailed comments from our reviewers as to why you may have scored low in certain areas and how you can improve your applications moving forward. A bit about the program process. Talked about it enough, but I think it's always worth reminding that we have this application period. We have the planning period where you complete your test plan with the facility. We have the testing period where we hope you'll start testing within 90 days of final award. You have those 9 months, and then you have 60 days at the end of your access period to complete the post-access reporting, and then repeat. That's my favorite part of that. Is this is, like I said, this is going to be going on for the next couple of years, hopefully, at least, and plan your opportunities accordingly, because best to apply for specific objectives and then get the results and apply for follow-ons to that. This is actually RFTS 2 projects awarded, just to give you all an idea of kind of what we've awarded. There's no reason that modeling analysis, we don't favor nearly 50% modeling. We just got a lot of applications for that this time. I think actually in RFTS 1, we actually had more tank projects than modeling. So it varies a little bit there, but generally speaking, for RFTS 2, excuse the slide, we had 22 projects awarded out of, I believe, 33 submitted. So our goal really is to provide as much support as possible, but we need to support well thought out, high likelihoods of success projects. So I've talked about the planning period. This is when the applicant and the facility will work together to submit the detailed test plan to the network director. This is after we've reviewed your application, say, yeah, this is something that we think deserves TEAMER support. Then, like it says here, it's up to the TSR to work with the facilities to submit a detailed test plan to the network director. Test plans are now required to be submitted by the facility, not the TSR. However, it is up to the TSR to work with the facility and to coordinate that the creation of that test plan. A template is available on our website. We do ask for a specific test plan template. It talks about data requirements and planning and all sorts of stuff that are important for test plans. You're welcome to view that at any time on our website. TSRs, and I apologize, I skipped the first part there. Once you get past the application, we start calling you technical support recipients as opposed to applicants. It's a little administrative thing we had to get through. TSRs may be required to execute an agreement with the facility for access and assistance. Agreement types may vary per institution. You should inquire at the time of pre-consultation as to what to expect from the facility. Funding, as I mentioned, for the TEAMER facilities, for TEAMER activities goes directly to the facility. We already have an agreement in place with all the facilities in our network to reimburse for facility usage. So there's no requirement for the TSR to provide any funding to the facility. That all happens from the network director to the facility. Your job is just to work with them to identify your testing needs, show up if required for the testing, and be an active participant. The network director, we may also execute an agreement with you to reimburse for travel expenses if necessary. We are able to offer, the only funding we can offer to the TSRs is travel support and some logistical support if you need to ship devices and things. We do have funding available for that. If that's something you'll request, once we've approved your applications or working on test plans, then it's worth communicating that to the network director, and we can talk about the how to document your expenses and what you can expect for travel reimbursement. There is some information on the website about it as well. Post-access and data requirements. TSRs are required to complete a series of post-access requirements within 60 days of completion of their activity. First thing there is the post-access report. Template is available on the website. As you'll see, actually the test plan and the post-access report are one document. The test plan says this is what we want to test, this is how we're going to test it, this is the data we expect to gather. And then the post-access report says this is how the test went and this is the data we gathered, generally speaking. So we figured it was worth combining those two documents into one because it was really the before and after opportunity to see how the testing went. We also require uploading of data. So we require data to be uploaded to the DOE's MHKDR website, the Marine Hydrokinetic Data Repository. We're going to be posting a video here soon about how to actually upload that data, if there's anyone on the call who's still waiting for that. But essentially, we require any data demonstrating progress towards meeting the objectives identified in Section 8 of the application, as well as scripts and data used to generate all figures, tables, and charts in the final report. All that data has to be uploaded to MHKDR. TSRs are advised that artificially limiting the number of figures in the final report to avoid disclosing underlying data will be considered non-compliant with final reporting requirements and will not be approved. So we do review the test plan, or the post-access reports. One of the things we will be checking for when we were reviewing those post-access reports is that you've actually uploaded the appropriate data to MHKDR. So if anyone is on the line who has questions from previous RFTSs, feel free to reach out. We're still wrapping up RFTS 1 in that sense, so we don't have a whole lot of user experience yet, but we expect to start having a lot of that here in the next month or so, and should be able to provide additional guidelines as we find the kinks in this process. But we expect we have a good process set out. And lastly, a completion of a post-access questionnaire. We'll provide that to the TSR upon completion of the program. Very simple survey that we'll be using for our own purposes to help improve the program, as well as just retrieving a few additional program metrics that we can use ourselves. And that wraps it up. Any questions about TEAMER or how to apply are usually available on our website, but feel free to always reach out to us at teamer@pacificoceanenergy.org, or my personal email is msanders@pacificoceanenergy.org. Don't hesitate to reach out anytime. We're here to help make this program work for everybody, everyone involved. We want you to receive support. We want to make our program better for everyone's experience. So any questions, comments, concerns you may have are always accepted, often replied to. I'm just kidding. But we do encourage and look forward to talking with you all and addressing any questions or concerns you may have. And I believe that wraps up my presentation. I am happy to stay on the line for a few minutes if anyone wants to submit a question. I don't believe there's the opportunity to speak, but you can type questions into the Q&A chat, or feel free, like I said, to go ahead and just send us an email, and we'll go ahead and respond when we can. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending today. Look forward to seeing applications coming in by May 9th. And I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll hope to hear from you soon. Bye-bye.